All right, we're live. Welcome everybody. Welcome to the Korean Cardboard Podcast. I am Dan, and to my, I guess it would be my left or my right, I don't know, is Mike. He goes by Groove Freight. And down below, some of you guys who already know about Menko stuff might already know Ryan Sumo Menko Man. Thank you guys for joining today.
Hey, everybody.
What's up, everybody?
Um, I wanted to do this chat because Mike started a Discord about Menkos, and we are going to try and catalog whatever we find regarding Menkos. And I thought it was the greatest of ideas. I was really excited about it when he invited me. Um, many of you may not know there's a very small community of people who collect Menkos, and we're three of them. I did invite a few others. They were busy. Another one might be coming later, Mike. He's working, but hopefully he can join us. So we'll have a four-person roundtable. But I'm just very happy that you guys can join, and we're finally meeting. We have conversed on text or blog. Ryan, before we started, I wanted to mention, I think I met you either on TCDB because you might have messaged me about either something Japanese or Korean, and then I saw you respond to Dave's blog, the NPB card, Japanese baseball cards.blogspot.com blog. So I think I saw you there, and I saw you on TCDB, right?
Yeah, I think at least I've known about you 5, 6, 7 years maybe now.
Yeah, it's been a while. Yeah. And that's about as how long I knew Dave before I met him.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And I actually did. What's awesome is I can have you guys come together because I had met Dave and I met Rob. They didn't know each other. They knew each other, and they might have interacted with each other online, but they never spoke to each other in person and met in person. And then last year or 2 years ago, I had them on a interview, and so they got to meet each other. So this is a great. I love this media forum where we can actually meet each other and talk in person.
Absolutely.
As usual, I have a bunch of questions for these guys that we can all answer on. And I'll start with, and then when Mike comes in, I can ask him as well. Can you guys tell me where you're from?
Yeah, I'm originally from Texas back in the day, but I live in Denver, Colorado now.
Okay, I've only been to the airport, but I heard Colorado's beautiful.
The airport's actually interesting and nice, but I've been in Colorado now for about 15, 16 years or so, and it's a fantastic place to live. Love it.
Okay, not that I go to card shops because I'm in Korea, but do you have anything? I'm sure there's 0% chance they'll have anything Japanese, except for newer Japanese tops or whatever. But do you have is there any kind of card shops around you?
Card shops, yes. Nothing. I've yet to ever find a single vintage Japanese Menko of any kind locally, which is, of course, not surprising whatsoever. But there definitely are hobbyists and people in the area. There's a few card shows that come through the area, that are obviously more focused on baseball and football and a bit of basketball and those sort of things. Hockey actually is probably bigger here than in a lot of different places, given that Colorado and hockey is a bigger deal. But just a few, but nothing that's going to have anything unique, I guess.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, and actually, do you know Mike's stadium cards or stadium sports cards?
I do. Yeah, this is fun. So when Ryan and I, when we first met and we started kind of communicating back and forth, we discovered that we both have a Colorado connection because Ryan lived in Colorado Springs for a long time, or not a long time, for a few years, a while back. And that's where I initially moved to Colorado Springs. And so we were sort of conversing about local card shops and things like that. And pretty funny how small world in that regard.
Yeah. Mike's stadium cards there. I think he's in Aurora.
Yeah, he's still there. Yeah.
Yeah, he had a clearance table, and I was in there one day. I was on a business trip, and I bought a 1991 BBM baseball set. It was a box set. I think it had the Ozzie Canseco on the front.
Yeah.
Like $5. He had a clearance table, and I couldn't jump on that fast enough.
You're like, that's me right there. Give it to me.
It is just a random Japanese set in the middle of Colorado. So
that's so
cool.
Funny. Nice. Yeah.
Have you always been in Colorado, Ryan?
No, so I'm in the military, so I move around a lot. So Colorado, currently in California at the moment.
Have you always been stationed in the U.S.?
I was in Germany for a couple years.
Okay.
Yeah, so Germany, and then the United States, obviously, right now. So
Okay.
Yeah, so currently in California. I've been here for almost 4 years now. And it's funny you mentioned it. There are a few good card stores out here, but again, nothing that focuses on anything Japanese. Very few. I feel like few good Japanese, not really Japanese, but card shows out here. We had the Burbank show, which I went to. It was pretty cool. But again, nothing in the older Menko or anything Japanese.
Unless Robert Clevens is there, you're not going to see
That's
him.
Robert. Yeah, he's always at the Nationals, so every time I'm there, I'll swing by and say hi
Right.
to him. But certainly,
I was really curious about the West Coast, like given the relative proximity to Hawaii, to Japan, the West Coast, obviously, versus mainland and Central and East Coast. I wondered if there was actually a little bit more of a presence out in the West Coast, at least from the
that's
commercial
a
thing. So
Yeah.
interesting, it's not, yeah.
Yeah. So really, again, not much Japanese cards out here. Again, a lot of just American
Yeah,
cards.
I mean, when you think LA, San Fran, and Seattle, you think, I know that's a fair question. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'm sorry, when you guys like whether it's Korean or Japanese for that matter, that's a lot. It's like Hideo Nomo and Chenho Park both started with LA Dodgers, so they're following
Shohei. I mean, it's just been on and on and on and on. From Ichiro and et cetera, et cetera. You think the West Coast would be a little bit more prominent? Right.
No, that's a good assumption. Yeah, I know. I'm not saying you're assuming it, but it's a good question too.
No, and it's funny. I guess maybe it's interesting. I think there's no doubt that there's far more fans.
Mm-hmm.
The question is dealers, I guess, when you're talking about card shows or card shops and that kind of stuff. And the reality is that in some of it is that to be a dealer, to have a booth, to have a store, you got to have inventory, which is not easy to come by, at least if you're not dedicated to it and doing it over time, or if you just have a bunch of capital you want to sink into it, I suppose. But so in that case, it's not surprising. But it's got to be a lot more West Coast sort of interest, I would just generally think, but who knows? So
yeah, and I think that's why the Burbank show is going to be so successful. I think it's just been really ripe out here for a card show, a good card show, and we haven't had it until the Burbank show last fall.
Nice.
And again here just a couple weeks ago. So it's certainly ripe out here for a huge West Coast show.
How long? How often are they going to have shows? The Burbank show?
My understanding is a couple times a year, and it's called the Burbank show because it started in Burbank, and it's a Burbank Sports Cards, I think, is a store.
Mm-hmm.
But there's just no big venue in Burbank when we're talking 400 to 500 dealers. So I think the next one might be in Anaheim. I heard this last one was on Ontario, Canada. So pretty cool.
I went up to Ontario.
You mean Ontario, California?
California. I meant.
Oh, I was like, you said Canada. I was like
Ontario, California, not Canada, but just up the road.
Man, that's a shift.
That's a drive.
Stop helping those Canadians.
Yeah.
I tried to actually buy a Burley card from Canada the other day, and it was like $12 to ship it.
Oh, I saw that. I saw your message asking about that, right? There's something I don't know. I've even tried to get some random.
Well, I'm sorry, that's with tracking. He wasn't going to ship it without tracking because saying they didn't receive the card.
Still
interesting.
Yeah, it's like I want to pay him. Maybe I can pay him nothing to ship to another person in Canada, and then they can ship it to me. By that time, I'm paying $12, I guess.
Yeah.
All right, so let's. I guess. All right, so I know where you guys are from. I guess I want to start. Not necessarily when you started liking baseball. I guess let's concentrate on when did you start liking Menko? When did you see your first Menko card and be like, "Wow, that's in." Whether it's baseball or non-sport, when was the first time you saw Menko? I'm like, "Oh, that's really interesting. I want to get into these."
Wow. Okay. So the first time I saw a Menko card is slightly different from when I got to the point of I really want to pursue these. So I used to work in minor league baseball for about a dozen years. So I started back in 2002 as an intern in Nashville, the Nashville Sounds. At the time, they were AAA for the Pirates. And after that internship year, I worked in Birmingham, Alabama with the White Sox AA affiliate, the Barons, for a couple of seasons.
I'm sorry, what years were those in Barons?
Let's see. So my internship year in Nashville was 2002.
Okay.
And then I did 2003 and 4. Did I do 5, 2? I did 2, 3. 345 in Birmingham.
Mark Burley was in Birmingham in '99.
It was before I met him briefly. So my very first thing I ever did in Birmingham in 2003 was an exhibition game between the Barons and the White Sox in Birmingham, and I got to briefly meet Burley. He didn't play, and I wasn't going to, but I briefly met him. Very nice guy. So I was there for 3 years. And then I went to Colorado Springs with the Sky Sox, which was now defunct. Now they're called the Vibes or something like that. They're like rookie ball. Anyways, they were AAA for the Rockies for many years. Long story. In 2003-04 in Birmingham, there was a player named Tetsu Yofu. He was a pitcher, right-hand pitcher from Japan. Never really did much, and I don't even know if he made it to the big leagues. But he threw a no-hitter in Charlotte in like 05 or something, 4 maybe, I can't remember now. But so he was the first time I'd ever met a Japanese professional baseball player, and he was the nicest guy. He had fairly good English, and we had like this part-time interpreter. Anyways, just in conversations with him, he mentioned and it's funny because one of my jobs, I was in communications and PR, and so I worked with the players. I was the go-between. I did all the travel. I did all that kind of stuff. I was the person in the front office who did everything for and with the team. And one of those things was the baseball cards set every year. I set up the photographer. I set up the designs, put it all together, printed it, whatever. Cool. So I was talking with him, Tetsu, and I said, it's like, oh, have you ever had a baseball card before? And he's like, actually, maybe. I don't think so, and not that I know of. And I was like, well, in Japan, don't you have baseball cards? And he's like, well, yes, and whatever. And so we just got in this conversation, and he showed me he had this really beat up, and for the life of me, I can't remember who it was or what set or anything, in his like possession. Like it wasn't like in his wallet per se, but he had it. And he showed me this beat up like Menko card. And he tried to explain to me like this is not a baseball card like you think it's a baseball card. This is from a game that had, and I was like, okay. And now this is again 2003, 4, I can't remember now. Internet's still very whatever. Anyways, that was my first time I ever saw a Menko card. Then actually later on in Colorado Springs, I had Kazuo Matsui came through when he was with the Rockies, who was a super incredibly nice person. Like, I know he didn't quite have the splash here in the U.S. as he had hoped. He had some good years here and there, but he was so nice. And I actually asked him at the time, I was like, oh, I think I asked him like, oh, did you know Tetsuyo? No, he didn't know him or whatever. But and somehow it came up, and he's like, oh, I know Menko or whatever. But it wasn't much of a conversation. Fast forward to literally like 3 years ago during the pandemic, I see on Twitter through vintage baseball threads, Hey May, posting all these fantastic images. And I'm like, oh my God, that's what that is. And I'm like, and so I just dove in, and it was just like, I gotta know more about this and see this. And that's what it is. And it just kind of conjured up all these memories for me, like, with my relationship with these players. My brother had lived in Japan for about 8 years teaching English, and just there was all these connections. And so that is my very, very long-winded story about how I got into Menko, and from there it's just been a blast.
Well, the fact that a Japanese player showed you the Menko, that's awesome.
That's really cool.
And I obviously at the time didn't think a thing of it, right?
Right.
But looking back on it, it's like, holy crap, that's awesome.
Okay.
So yeah. It was pretty cool.
Ryan?
Yeah, I lived in Japan for a couple years, 1999 to 2001, as part of the JET program, if you've heard of that at all, Japan Exchange and Teaching Program. And I was down taking a trip. I was down in Kyushu, if you're familiar with Japan. I was in a small little onsen resort town, and just happened to be walking through this vintage shop that had an unopened box of 1958 Japanese Menko cards. I had no clue what they were, and I had collected growing up in the late 80s, early 90s. So
heyday.
So one of those, the child of that era. I think like many of us are.
Mm-hmm.
So loved cards. I bought it. It was really cool. Had no clue what it was. asked a few folks at the time, but it really never pursued anything beyond that. And then it was in 2004. Again, I was on eBay. For whatever reason, I ran across it's a Japanese baseball / sumo set. It's a karuta set, the 1954. I think, what is it, the JK23 set or whatever, if you're familiar with that. But anyway, it came in a magazine, and it was on eBay. Had sumo cards, sumo players or wrestlers on one side and baseball players on the other. And I was like, wow, it kind of rekindled, hey, I had found this box, vintage sumo, let me see what it is. I won the auction. And then at that point, really started to get into vintage sumo. And so, 19 or so years later, I just have been going hot and heavy with vintage sumo mainly. Some of the 1970 stuff, but really anything from the early 1900s to even the modern sumo cards. So I met a few folks who helped kind of navigate the auction sites in Japan at that time in the 2000s. So it's kind of the Wild West, if you can imagine. Not these third-party proxy services that we have now. So I had to have friends get stuff from some of these auction sites and then ship it over. But found some beautiful stuff in the mid to late 2000s and then into the teens. So that's really how I got into it. Again, have never looked back for about the last 19 years. So just have been collecting sumo cards since.
Question. Were you into sumo before you found out about Sumo Menko?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. So I was in it a little. I had gone to a tournament in Japan, but it wasn't anything that I had really latched onto. I thought it was cool. But it wasn't until I found the cards and then it was back in the United States at that point and had started collecting again that I had really gotten into the sport at that point, which is interesting. Maybe a little bit of reverse for what most people come into collecting, where they're interested in the sport and then they find the cards. I actually found the cards first and then got interested in the sport second. So yeah.
Okay.
That was my question. Was like, did you go to a sumo tournament when you were in Japan?
So I've actually been to more sumo tournaments since I left Japan than I had when I was there. It was one of those, if you could go back in time, right, in the way back machine, do some things over. I would have probably been at every sumo tournament or basho, but enough to at least kindle my interest for the cards that I had found there in 2000, and then certainly enough later on.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Now, you said you were in the southern part of Japan?
I was just on vacation in the southern part of Japan, but I lived north of Tokyo, about 60 or 70 miles north of Tokyo.
Okay.
For a couple years. Yeah.
Right,
and again, nobody collected cards. I mean, I knew nobody that collected Menko. I showed the Menko to people and they had seen it, but again, nobody that I had ever talked to ever even collected these, and they thought it was interesting, but had no further information on anything Menko.
That's to me, obviously you've been doing this way longer. Both of you have been doing this way longer than I have, but it seems evident to me that culturally this was not a thing. And I know that I've read a little bit about, like, I think with, especially with Baseball Menko and stuff like that, this was not a cultural thing like in America, which we are so used to for decades and decades and decades now. And so honestly, like when I find Menko lots and things like that, they are literally somebody, I would say like 8 out of 10 of the ones that I get, that I'm lucky enough to get, are literally, and it seems very evident when I get it here, especially, and I look through it, that it's literally some child's brief history of they had whatever they had and they put it away, and somehow it got to wherever it was, and it was sold now through, someone found it in a storage or warehouse or something. This concept of a culture of collection is just not there. That's why, Ryan, you and what you have done and created with your checklist, and what the baseball guys, Rob, all those guys they had to take years to put all that together, and I can't imagine how you and I'm very curious, Ryan, like how you were able to do that on your own. I'm sure you had help and everything else, but there's not. And if anything, I have a lot of interest in non-sports Menko too. If anything, that's a lot of where my focus is right now. And there's nothing.
Yeah.
There's zero information. So this had to be what it was for you 19 years ago.
Yep.
There was nothing. You had to create it all. Just like Gary and Rob, they had to create it all whenever they created it, at least as far as an English speaking audience. I keep hoping that there's some sort of Japanese repository out there, but there isn't, because they just didn't think of it. This was not a concept of, oh, we're going to collect these things. No, it was a game and we did it and it was done. That's what it was.
Absolutely. And the Menko really were meant to be played with and destroyed, especially the game. It's a very violent game, if you will.
Very violent game.
Yeah. And so it's and if
that's why I'm trimming all my cards right now.
And living in Japan, you can understand space is tight, and so it's not a culture of collecting.
Yeah, you don't have a closet full of anything.
Yeah.
At all, because you don't have a closet.
You don't have a closet. Yeah.
It's why you have your floor, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, just like Japan, Korea is very small. Korea is the size of Indiana, and it has 55 million people when Indiana has like 5 million. So you can just imagine. So, and just like in Japan, they have very little room. There's a lot of mountains in both countries, and that's why you always see those tall tall apartment buildings in the middle of farming area, because they have to try and farm and build up wherever they can.
Yep.
Sorry, Ryan, go ahead.
Yeah, no, exactly. So it's and I love the cards, the Menko, that have kids' handwriting on the back. I mean,
yes,
I love collecting those. They're in my collection. It's just it's something some child loved and endeared that Menko. So
yeah, I completely agree. I just got a couple of recent shipments from Japan of childhood non-sports, mostly not like 95% non-sports. And I absolutely agree. When I open it up, like typically, obviously because the way the services work, I have a couple of different, sort of lots within it. I keep those lots separate on purpose because 99% of the time they are some kid's collection that ended up wherever it is that it somehow got to me. And I literally can tell and see and feel how whoever this was in whatever era in the 60s, 70s, for the most part, what they liked, what they like. They might all be from the same sets and, similar, whatever. But like this guy over here, this kid over here, he really liked Kamen Rider and Perman and whatever. And this guy over here, he really liked Tiger Mask, and he really liked whatever. And it's so cool to and so this recent set I was going through, the back of this kid's cards were numbered. Not all of them, but like a certain number of them, like 1 through like 220. I haven't gone through all of it to know exactly what they are and how there's no rhyme or reason to it. I have no idea why he did this. Mm-hmm. It's the same handwriting, but he did. Yeah. And it's just amazing to me. Or the scorecard Menkos that have the score actually written into them, or whatever it is. I mean, from a collection standpoint, if you're looking for something clean and pristine, obviously those are not going to help. And I like that too. Like I collect certain baseball players that I would like it to be a little bit cleaner, a little bit nicer, if I'm going to like make it part of my personal collection kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But the fact that these things were not produced in any way, shape, or form to be collected, like baseball cards were in America from the very beginning.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Is that one of your Kawakamis? I think
that's the one This is the one you commented on.
Okay, it is. Yeah, I absolutely love that.
That's so cool.
So, by the way, that's the front. Nagashima. But
Nagashima.
This is just a beater, as we call them. So I will want to replace this eventually, but I had not seen this one before affordably, so I bought it. I got these off of. I bought these from. I'm so bad with names nowadays. I'm getting so old. Shame on me. He sells cards on Twitter. You guys might have bought from him before.
I mean, hey, May's the only guy.
Japan adult.
Oh,
Japan.
Jeff.
Yes, Jeff.
Yeah.
I deal with Jeff all the time. I don't know how I can.
Yeah. Jeff and Tokyo.
I bought these from Jeff. I bought like a 5. He knows I collect Nagashima, so he always looks out. But I do have doubles, by the way. Who was it? Mike, were you the one that also collected Nagashima?
I do Kawakami. Starfin, and Kaneda. I have some Nagashima. I need to send you.
Actually, I think I have a couple. I think I have 2 or 3 doubles of Kaneda, so we could talk about those. Yeah, so he sold me those, and when I'm like, okay, I guess I'll take it. Then I posted these on Twitter, and Mike's like, oh, I love when they fill out those scoreboards.
That's awesome. Were you able to pinpoint a game by chance? No,
that's the best part. I was like, if that's my thing, is like, how cool would it be if it was if you could know that it was, if it's just numbers, okay, it could be anything, but if you literally could like figure out what game, because I wrote a date or teams or something like that, would be super cool.
All right, look who showed up. Skull Rats.
Yo, what's good?
What's up, man?
Hey.
I do have my camera set up. I'm just trying to sort all the show and tell thingies.
Oh,
sure.
Take your time. Take your time. Actually, okay. So that's how you guys. I'm trying to think of how I got into Menko.
Yeah.
And I think
I was going to ask you. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Mike, I know that you. I think I said you would be surprised because I've gone to I've gone to Tokyo 3 times and I've been to Osaka once. I went to Osaka maybe 2 weeks ago, but I went to all the mint stores in Japan, and I'm sure you went to a few of them while you were in Japan, Ryan.
Yeah.
They mostly have mostly modern stuff, and I forgot which mint store I went to. Maybe Mint. I forgot. There's so many mints. Mint Kanda maybe it was Mint Kanda in Jimbocho, I think it was, but no, it wasn't that. It was a different mint, but most of them will not have any Menko at all. Right? And I did go to one shop mint shop that actually had a binder. It had a bunch of Menko, real Menko. But I think the prices were more than I wanted to pay. And a lot of those mint stores are expensive as it is. But that's the only time I think I saw Menkos in an actual Japanese card shop. Until, do you guys know Ryan Glusing? Ryan, I'm assuming you know Ryan.
What's the last name?
This Card is Cool blog.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's Ryan Glusing. He's been in Japan for a long time. He teaches, and I met him the same trip I met Dave on, and he showed me. He took me. I don't know if he took me or I think we rode there together to a place that's east of. I want to say it was east of Tokyo, or was it west? I forgot. I forgot. I'm brain farting on the name of the mall area. But he took me to the shop that had lots of older knickknacks and toys and stuff, like a vintage store. And this guy had a bunch of them, and I think I bought some of them there. I think that was the first time I bought some Menkos. I can't think of the name. I'll have to ask Ryan. But I think that's the first time I actually bought Menkos when I was in Japan. And then I'm trying to think. Where else I obviously buy them on eBay and I buy them on the third-party websites, but I think that was the only time I bought. And then in the same trip with Ryan, I also went to, Mandarake.
Yeah, Mandarake.
Yeah, so I went to Mandarake. And they sell lots of toys, and sometimes they'll have baseball cards. But we went to one of those, and I don't know if they didn't have Menkos, but they had the NST 1970s cards, the little thin ones. And I think I was going to buy a Davey Johnson card from like 1978 or something, but Ryan's like, oh, if you don't want to buy it, I'll buy it. I'm like, I wasn't really into him, so I'm like, okay, go ahead, it's yours. But I think that trip was awesome. Also, before I forget, I don't want to fail to mention this. I don't know, do you guys collect any kind of Japanese, other than the Menkos cards? Do you guys go into any type of pop culture figures or anything like that as well, or just cards?
Just cards for me.
Yeah, just cards for me right now. I mean, I it's interesting. The non-sports side of things really does kind of open up a lot more. As soon as you start to get into any of the mecha and anime and manga, and there's just so much that's in that world that I definitely could see myself in the future finding something like that vintage that would kind of, especially if it's something that complements the Menkos that I really love from a visual perspective, to say like, here's that character or that whatever in Menko form and in figurine form, because I've seen some really cool ones out there. They're a lot more expensive than Menko obviously.
Right.
But there's some really cool stuff, and the fact that that was definitely a thing at the time too, historically. Like these are not new pop things or whatever. It's like, no, this was a thing at the time for some of those non-sports ones that make a lot of sense. So, and if anything, that was literally part of, much like in America, it was part of the marketing. That was part of the reason why you had it, was we want to sell these toys. So we want to, or it wasn't quite as obvious or direct as I think as it was in America, maybe. I'm not entirely sure, but
Yeah.
It was a part of that concept too. Like, hey, young boys, most of the audience is young boys. They want to play with these toys. They want to have these cards. They like these shows. It makes a whole lot of sense.
Yeah.
Menkos and everything else. It's just
I wanted to. Of course, I can't find them right now, but Gotcha Man. Do you know Ryan?
Yeah.
Gotcha Man, and those Gotcha Mans are the little figurines you buy in the coin machine. Those are called Gotcha Mans.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys ever saw them.
Mike,
Oh, there it is. I bought mostly on Yahoo. I actually had Ryan purchase a lot of this stuff for me because I don't think how buy some sites says you can't buy from the seller or whatever.
Yeah.
Anyhow, he bought out, obviously paying for everything, but he would help me get these Gotcha Mans with Ultraman, and they had tons of figures, and I don't know how much money I spent on all of this, and I don't even have them displayed, but it's a hassle trying to get these shelves up and stuff. But I have a lot of those Gotcha Mans. Maybe the entire, they come in sets, like 5 or 6 figures per set, and I think I have almost all 30 sets, which is a lot of figures and a lot of mini sets.
really.
Oh,
Yeah,
dang.
but I'll have to when you guys get talking, I can try and find them. But it has have you guys ever watched Ultraman, like a single episode?
Yeah.
Okay.
This
So,
whole box right here is. all
Oh,
that.
nice. Yeah.
Nice.
Okay. Yeah. I forgot you're into that stuff too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. The Gotcha Mans obviously were tiny, much smaller.
Yeah,
But I have a lot of those, and I'll have to find them before the.
They remind me of, you guys remember Muscle Men?
Mhm.
Yeah, I have.
Oh, you're fine. There you go.
No, the real one had the main one had the red trunks, but of course, yeah, and they weren't called Musclemen in Japan. They were. This is his name in Japanese.
Is this
Kinikaman?
Kinikaman, yeah, Kinikaman.
Okay.
And what's funny is some of the guys have there's Ramen Man, there's Buffalo Man, and all these other English names they used. But I think they have different names in America. But yeah, I have a lot of Kinikaman stuff.
Oh,
Nice.
Let's see here. Let me show you what else I got here. Here's an actual. This is a Microman figure. There's the series called Microman. This is the actual main one. That's what we look like. But yeah, those muscle figures in America were huge in the 80s, and I definitely know I played with them with my friend. And I've been meaning to buy some of them, but never got around to it yet.
Nice.
All right, Mike, can you tell us how you got into collecting Menkos?
After I got into just Japanese baseball cards in general, I would go on eBay and they'd be the first ones that would come up when you just type in Japanese baseball card. And I couldn't tell you what one was my first one. It was probably some random lot of 6 players. And then I just found them to be way more fun than just the American vintage cards.
Mhm.
At least in terms of eye appeal for the most part, and just trying to figure out why this back is different than this back, or why is it red but now this one's blue, even though it's the same year, same set, same back. So that's more fun than.
I'm sorry, are we thinking those are the same set? If they're the same color or a different color?
I don't know.
Part of
pictures.
We don't know, but we are. To me, it's the colored variances. If it looks exactly the same, color variances, that's got to be the same set.
I would think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
They just printed these things at whatever they probably had.
Whatever they had.
It's they didn't, and like we talked about before, this was not for a collector's market. They were not thinking about consistency and quality. That's why you see so many really terrible looking multi-printed, and which some of those I just absolutely love because they're quadruple printed, whatever it is, however many colors that those plates were wherever they were, So yeah, I think they have to be the same set.
When you get into the wartime Menko and then the post-war ones, if it's one's green, one's red, it's probably just them using whatever ink they could get.
Yeah,
Because I have magazines from 46 and they're just that thin, so It's whatever ink they could probably get.
Yeah, it's literally, that's why I've had some people ask me, not that I'm an expert in it or what, but like my guess of like, that's why Batman or whoever in that era wears red in this one and blue in this one, and it's like it's like, well, some of this was not like licensed to begin with, but then it was literally like, yeah, they would have liked to have replicated it exactly, they couldn't, so it was whatever they had. That's why he's in yellow tights here and red over here or whatever, you know. So it's part of, quite frankly, I mean, the charm, for lack of a better term. I mean, like the appeal, you know. There's that Japanese aesthetic to begin with. Like, talk about, I think, the beauty of Menko and quite frankly a lot of different other kind of art forms and other things in there. Although I don't think Menko were considered art form at the time, I think we can reflect on it and see it that way.
Yeah,
because it's Japanese, sort of, that was their cultural, like, this is their viewpoint on these things, and it looks that honestly, you can look at these things like, that's clearly not just the writing of Japanese language on there, but like, you can get a real feel like, yeah, that feels Japanese to me. But then there's this concept and the look at it, like, the time really reflects the way that these things were created. Like, I think Mike, you make a great point about pre-war. So many things that are pre-war that look so much cleaner, so much more in depth of color and creativity and all these sort of things, that post-war, for, you know, a handful of years, you're like, man, you can see that they were clearly operating on what was less resources than what they had previously. And I think it's part of the charm. It's part of the history. It's great.
Yeah, I mean, if you read history of Japan right after the war, really up until the early 50s, it was a struggle. And so absolutely, the quality, especially in Japanese Menko, the quality really never turned around until the mid to late 50s on quality of Menko. And the pre-war stuff is just absolutely gorgeous. The post-war was definitely made to sell.
The fact that they even had it shocks me.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that they could even print stuff or find the paper to print it on. And yeah, absolutely.
A lot of my Japanese friends are older, like 50s, 60s, some even in their 70s, and I asked them, like, you know, the old candy stores at Tagashisha, do you remember going to those? And they're like, oh yeah, I remember. And they told me stories of, like, you know, they go into the store, this is a more modern one, but, like, you know, this is just hanging up on the walls. And they remember the store owner, like, cutting it up at night, you know, for the next day. And, you know, all sorts of stuff like that, and how they'd, like, here's an uncut sheet, and they remember, you know, helping the store owner cut the sheets and all that. So
that's amazing that it was.
Those were the dinner plate ones you want to call dinner plate.
And that makes sense to me.
I've never seen one that big. I've never seen one that big.
Suckers.
I got a bunch of them.
They had to have been prizes, or at least, or like you said, there might have been like shop specials.
I have smaller ones of the same image, so I'm wondering if, like, you got like a lucky back and your prize was the bigger one, or if you save up like 3 prizes, you get the really, really big one. No one can tell me, so that's my story. I'm sticking to it.
I don't know about the 1970s, 80s Menko, but certainly in the 50s, depending on what prize number you got on the back of your Menko, it determines the size of the uncut sheet that you got. At number 1, you would get the 16 or so Menko twist sheets, and prize 3 was usually 2 or 4. So yeah, typically awesome. The better prizes, the bigger.
Do we know how long that went for? Like, is that pretty commonplace throughout? Like, because I have Menko from all different eras that have those stamps, and these are separate from the importer stamps with baseball Menkos, the prize stamps.
That was post-war. So Menko even on baseball, sumo, every Menko genre pretty much stopped in 1962, 1963. Production pretty much halted, but it was through the 50s and 60s that was the most common way. With the tabapaks, I think tobacco Menko is referred to in Japanese, the Japanese baseball. But yeah, that was the way to distribute prize cards, and that was the common way of the prize sheets, the prize numbers on the back of the Menko, the tabapaks. Even in the boxes, they come in uncut That's how they did it pre-war. Not many Japanese baseball pre-war Menko that I'm aware of, but that was not common at all in pre-war Sumo Menko.
Yeah.
And then in the 70s, again, I'm not quite sure how they distributed prizes other than mini cards came with prize stamps on the back, and you could redeem them for a pack of cards or a free album, sometimes a free pull. I think were the more common types in the 1970s.
Okay.
Nice.
I guess I don't know. One of my questions here is, why do you collect Menko? I guess that's a pretty simple, straightforward answer. Why they're cool, they're interesting, I like them. Is there anything more to it than that?
I think you hit upon it. I mean, and for me, it's a little bit of the enigma, the chase of not having any of it cataloged. I found that very fascinating. And then once I started collecting and realizing there was no resource out there, checklists, identification, catalog numbers, even set names, that was extremely intriguing to me to collect and then get it all documented in my book. So that was a huge driving factor for me.
Yeah, I second that. Second that wholeheartedly. I mean, I'm literally today. So in our Discord, I had some time today, and it takes way longer than I ever expected it's going to. But I had some time today, and I dumped in a bunch of like Captain Ultra and Tetsujin 28, and I'm literally like staring at it. I'm like, and I think Dan, you too, like, name this back, like name this, like, what do I call this? And it literally it's so, because there's, as far as we know, nothing out there other than what we have seen, and I've been able to borrow a little bit from the baseball checklist as far as a few of the sets, at least in literally like the same sets that also had non-baseball, but then certain things like Maruta, Marukan, Maruten, like, you know, some of those things, like, oh, that's what that means. I don't know if that's actually a thing, but that circle with that thing, and then, oh, okay. I didn't know that. Like, I just assumed that was some, and it's a good question to maybe not ask today, but like, is that just them making that up, Dan? When you asked them, like, they just literally, like, that was a circle with the ta symbol inside, so we called it Maruta, and then, or is that actually like a company that was called Maruta that used that or whatever? I don't know.
Yeah, I'll look into that. Well, I wish Rob or Dave could be here. I think one of them might be able to give you a better answer.
They probably could, but my whole point, like, the hunt is what I absolutely love the most. I should say, I love the artwork. In many cases, not many, in some cases, the bizarre aspect of what I'm seeing. Now, it probably wasn't bizarre to the people who got it at the time, but to me, 50, 60, 80, however many years ago or later, there's just something about it that's like so different and foreign to me, literally and figuratively, that I just love, and I just love that aesthetic, and it's just quite frankly beautiful. And then there's this whole side of me that is just like, I love the hunt. Like, there's no one here to tell me what are the cards in this set and what are the different ones, and I just love that pursuit, and I just love getting something and looking through it and organizing and trying to figure out, oh, do I have this or not? What is this? It's like, I have a whole box of stuff that I'm like, I have no idea what this is. And I strongly contemplate trying to find a bilingual person who's really into anime and tokusatsu and all these different things to literally come into my house, and like, I pay them an hourly wage to go through it with me to try and help me figure out what the heck that is, you know? But I also don't want to do that because I love the search and I love the, like, trying to figure it out. And honestly, opportunities like this where we connect with each other and start to learn. And I've already learned literally from everybody here so much about the hobby and Menkos and the culture and everything. I mean, it's fabulous to me. It's like, it's an untapped thing. It's such a small world of people that do this in America. And I'm excited that I'm a part of it.
No, I'm excited that I can, like I said before, to bring us together, get to know each other, and, you know, do, like, just go for those checklists and try and differentiate as much of the stuff as we can.
Yeah, Mike, I was in a chat with you at one point. So I wrote this. It was called the Guide to 1970s and 1980s Japanese mini cards.
Yep.
You're familiar with mini card.
Yep.
So that I attempted to start cataloging Japanese mini card by genre.
Ryan, can you put that up again, please?
Oh yeah, sorry. By
No, these mini cards are okay.
Either
Mini
or.
cards are lots of different things.
so in the 1970s and 80s, the Menko, bromides, and then the mini cards were the three types of collectible cards.
Were mini cards like Calbee thin paper thing?
Similar to Calbee, but if you're familiar with like the Yamakatsu pro wrestling sets, those are mini cards. There's some Yamakatsu also made Japanese baseball cards in the late 70s. There's just quite a few of them. You can see some here, the Bruce Lee cards. There's that Condor Man there.
Yeah.
So very fascinated in mini cards. So this is
I need
how
to.
I started to catalog mini cards in Japan. Kind of got put on the back burner for the second edition, but hoping to pick that up.
It's a reminder to me that I need to buy your guides. But
no worries. But I think the 70s and 80s, going back to checklisting, are just it's a ripe era for cataloging, like we have on Discord. Just starting to capture all that, starting to build checklists, starting to resource all that, or capture that resource.
Yeah,
it's
all untapped.
Yeah.
I want to ask, what is your wheelhouse as far as any of this stuff goes? Do you have a favorite thing that you concentrate? Well, I know, I'm assuming we know Ryan's already, but is there something that you, of all the stuff, excuse me, of all the stuff that we collect, what is your wheelhouse? If you guys can, like, just what's your favorite thing to collect? Even though you'd like to collect lots of things, is there one thing that you like to specifically focus on? Right? Or Mike? Sorry, we'll go this way. Mike?
Which Mike?
Which one?
Sorry, Kufe. Sorry, Kufe.
Whew. I mean, my wheelhouse right now, and this is, I feel like it changes like every a handful of months or something like that. I don't know, but I really love pre-war. There's just something about, and especially non-sport pre-war. There's just something about those cards in that era, and that is just so beautiful and challenging and just unusual, and just something about it that I just find very, very interesting. So if I'm sitting there looking for and trying to pursue something, like what I'm looking to buy or whatever, there's all kinds of things that interest me, and I'm looking for larger bulk lots or whatever the case may be. But if I see something that's pre-war that pops up, like my antenna goes up. I'm like, okay, what's that? Have I seen that before? Do I know what that is or not? If I don't, if the answer to that is no, then I probably want it. Yeah. But so pre-war is probably my wheelhouse.
Okay. Ryan?
Yeah. As my handle says, Sumo Menko and Sumo Cards.
Oh, I thought it was Japanese currency. Menko.
Yeah, right.
Oh man.
So I love, obviously, anything sumo related, sumo card related. It's postcards, Menko, bromides, mini cards. So that is my wheelhouse. That's what I love to collect. Even not as well versed in some of the modern sumo stuff as some other folks are, but certainly love to collect those. And then, as we talked, Mike and I chatted a little bit. 1970s, 1980s Menko. I love mechanized stuff like cars, trains, planes, currency Menko, stamp Menko, wrestling, TV show Menko. Those are what I love to collect. Not so much the anime, other than Transformers or something like that. Something that maybe a little more relatable here in the United States. But that's when I'm not collecting Sumo Menko. I'm looking at 1970s stuff there.
And that 70s era is pretty ripe too. I mean, there's a lot that's out there. Like, I don't mean like unavailable necessarily, but like what was like covered in like the genres, like all those things you're talking about. There's a lot to it.
Oh yeah, they made everything. I mean, it was the second boom of Menko. Yeah. From 62 to 73, there were hardly any cards made in Japan, and then starting in 73, it just skyrocketed with everything that you can think of had a Menko or a bromide or a mini card made of it. Yeah, pretty cool.
All right, Mike.
In terms of collecting in general, I'd say first thing's probably you can tell behind me about like Godzilla and just kaiju in general. Mainly Godzilla. It's out of frame, but I have a whole like IKEA glass display case of all these Godzilla figurines.
Nice.
And then I have the 1970s Calbee unopened packs of Godzilla figures.
Nice.
I think I got like 4 packs of that. And after that, it's probably baseball's probably the second one. Baseball's the more expensive one, but
well, yeah.
as for an era, like I pretty much like all of it. Like I do have a probably an affinity for post-war baseball because I just like how the entire country's rebuilding, and then baseball's pretty much all everybody had. And then you have the stories of like Victor Starfin, who during the wartime years, despite being a foreigner and despite being what was he, Russian?
Yep.
He became a star. And then in the post-war years, you have like Yonamine coming back, and the Americans are able to play again. Stuff like that. And then of course Nagashima, Kawakami. Who's the hit leader? Harimoto.
No.
All stuff like that.
In learning that all these guys are gaijins, right? Is that the term for foreigner?
Yeah, like Harimoto's a Korean.
Yeah. I
And
didn't
on
realize
top of
that's how I
that-
researched these guys. Yeah.
And on top of that, he's at Hiroshima when the bomb goes off.
Oh, was
His
he?
left hand doesn't work. He still gets 3,000 hits.
What? I didn't know this.
Wow.
I don't think the left hand's
He
related.
did have a disability. Yes.
Yeah, I think that was a birth defect, but being at
Making
the
notes.
Hiroshima, I think that made it worse. So he's getting 3,000 hits with like a bum hand, basically.
Jeez.
Was it
And
O's
then-
parents from Taiwan or something?
Yeah, O identifies as Taiwanese.
Yeah.
And the way he was treated against Nagashima in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, I'm sure that really helps with the fact. I'm sure it's probably why he identifies as Taiwanese even today. Who's the strikeout leader? Is that? I forget his name.
You mean pitcher wise?
Yeah, pitcher wise. He's also Korean. I forget his name. He's
It's not Kaneda.
Kaneda. Yeah, that's who it is.
Yeah.
It's my
Yeah,
son's
he's-
Kaneda.
Yeah, he's a Korean.
Yeah, I forgot he's a Korean.
That's always really interesting to me.
Mhm.
Then you have the story of Eiji Sawamura, who gets drafted and then I think dies a few months before the war ends.
There's several stories. It's just that the whole the way in which World War II impacts obviously the Japanese culture and life and country itself, and how baseball is a part of it from before and after is absolutely just amazing to me. That it played such a role in that country. Obviously, it wasn't as popular before the war as it was after the war, but it was part of the culture. It was there. It was certainly, it wasn't. It became part of the culture and built from there. But and how it became, like you said, Mike, that it really did help, or at least was part of that post-war process, because American occupation, the Allied forces occupation was, obviously a significant part of what their life and their culture was post-war. And baseball being something that, if baseball hadn't existed at all, it was completely an unknown to them prior, it would not have all of it, it would have, I don't think, been embraced at all, quite frankly. It probably would have been rejected, potentially. Like, that's not or maybe it was maybe embraced a little bit and then rejected a little bit after that. But it was already a part of their culture, and so it became sort of this bridge, if anything, to say that. And the American tours and everything was happening both pre-war and post is just so amazing, so interesting to me, and that it was really a big part of that whole dynamic out there.
Uh-huh.
Did you know that during the wartime they weren't allowed to use English like on the back of the jerseys?
Oh, really?
So like the Giants, they still called them Kyojin, but they actually stopped referring to them as the Giants in like the media. In the back of the names, I think for the first time ever, they either had no names on the back, or they would just put the names in Japanese. Like you couldn't even use English while playing a sport invented by the English.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Just stuff like that's just really cool to me.
Well, in fact, in this country, we were putting people in tournament camps. If you were Japanese, I mean, it's ridiculous. All the different things that happened and occurred, but that's what happens when you're in the middle of a world war. Is ridiculous and crazy.
And there's that plan where they were going to have Babe Ruth, like, I think they were going to like record him saying like surrender or something, and they were going to play that because they thought he had more pull than any politician in U.S. history. They're like, dropping all those propaganda flyers. I think they might have actually dropped one with Babe Ruth on it. And it might have been more effective than any other like thing they did. Just how much they love baseball.
That's awesome.
I guess I also had some other questions here that I want to ask you guys. Are you building any? As you know, guys, you can't. There's no complete sets of these Menkos laying around anywhere, and you're not going to find them for sale. And you're always building sets. Oh, I need that card. Well, let me see the back because a lot of these illustrated cards look the same. Let me see the back. Oh, that's not the one I need. I need JCM 1, not JCM 54 or whatever. Are there any sets you guys are building with like an eye on the sets, or is it whatever you get? Okay, great. I can add this one to this set. I can add one to this set. Or is there like a lot of cards from one set that you have that you still want to try and get the rest of them, or is it just whatever you get is what you get? But in like buying lots, I suppose.
Let's start with Ryan because you actually might have some that fall into this. My answer is I have no sets because honestly, most of what I collect, I don't even know I have no idea how many or whatever. So, but I'm very curious what Ryan has.
Yeah, a lot of times I don't even know if I have a complete set with Sumo cards, Menko. But certainly the more modern stuff, I love to collect the sets. New releases come out. We have a really good Facebook group that we all typically open a box, and then we all exchange our doubles for others so that we can complete sets. That's pretty common. Pretty good way to do it. But yeah, the vintage stuff. A lot of times I don't know if I have a complete set. Some stuff I do know I have complete sets, but a lot of times I'll just buy lots if I see it. I'm just hoping that I can find a new variation or just something to fill in some holes or a new unknown Menko that I can checklist and add to the list. So that's typically how I do it. I don't typically like to collect a lot of doubles. I mean, I'll sell those off or trade those to other folks, but so I definitely trying to get one of everything. It's my goal. Yeah.
Mike, do you have any sets or trying to build any sets of cards, Menko cards?
No, which one?
You.
As for sets, I mean, I don't really try to do set complete because once you can never really figure out if it is complete.
True.
I mean, I like the uncut sheets because it's complete as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, there you go.
Like this is a Gundam one, which I'm fairly certain is the first Gundam sheet to my research.
Yeah, I saw you were selling.
What year was
Yeah, I got like 30 of them in Honolulu of all places.
Wow.
No, Honolulu, that makes sense. Hawaii?
Yeah, apparently Japanese tourists traded it for American toys, and the guy sold it to me for like 50 cents.
Oh, wow.
And then these ones are the 1970s Toei Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Glare.
Yeah.
The show was not popular back then, so I don't believe much merchandise was made at all.
Yeah.
And
that's a set that I'd love to see as many of them. Like, who knows how many? I mean, the 70 sets seem to kind of generally have like 16 or 18, something like that, like to a set. Like when you look at other genres, but I mean, who knows? But that's why, like our Discord, like throw those in, like getting. We won't know until we either stumble upon like those thicker Menko aren't going to have these like sheets, right? It's not going to be like here's your complete set sheet. It's going to be individual cards coming through and being able to see them. So that's exactly the type of thing that we'd love to see more of.
And these 3 pictures, I don't know if the glare's too bad, but these are the only ones I've actually seen these images of. I have 2 more that are the same images. They're better condition, so they're they're worse condition. They have like mold on them or something. And then I have, in my Zen Market account, I have the exact same cards, but they're Calbee cards. So they're not even Menko. And it's like the same images, so I'd like to get more of them, but as far as I know, like I've seen 5 pictures and that's it.
It's not unusual to see the same front image used in a variety of different sets, especially during the 70s. I've found it's interesting. Like in the 60s, they're actually it's not definitive, but like there seems to be more variety, like in the 60s kind of Menkos that I see versus the 70s, where you do see a lot more like the same image but on different backs or whatever. That's interesting.
And then I'd like to get more. I don't know if any more of these this series exist, but this is the Television Heroes, like an uncut sheet. As far as I can tell, it's from the 60s. Glare's terrible.
Let me try and.
Is that that looks like a Karuta set? Yeah.
There you go.
The main thing about it is, Batman's up here.
Yeah, Batman, Ghost Q.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's a Karuta set. There's Ambassador Magma. There's a Akasha.
And then there's
Ultraman.
Discount Ultraman, as I call him, because his colors aren't right.
Or bootleg, however you want to call them. Yeah. There's so many bootleg images out there. It's not even funny. But
and then I'm not going to unwrap it because if I unwrap it, I'm not going to be able to put it back in there properly. But behind it, if you can see the white, that's not like plastic card. That's the actual price sheet itself.
Ah.
So I think you get the price sheet and you get the cut ones, and you're supposed to glue it back on. I think. So by getting the cut ones, you recreate the sheet.
Right.
Because if I can send a picture of it later, I have it on my Zen Market account. It's the exact same layout, and it's all written in blue. So the guy I bought it from didn't know anything about it. So I guess you would just cut it up, get it, and just recreate it. So it's cool to have a price sheet. Other than that, no, I'm not really looking for sets.
The concept was that the company would sell the front sheets cut up.
Mm-hmm.
And then sell the back sheet to people to say, come and fill these in, much like the albums and other things like that, that it's giving them an incentive to buy more of something in order to get all the different cards. You just happen to have them both together before they cut up. That is just a random guess, but pretty cool either way. Nice.
I suppose for whoever is viewing, do you guys mind quickly talking about third-party vendors and who you use and what's out there? All right, so I use Bai. There's Zen Market. There is Kubotan. Is it Kubotan?
Yeah, Kubotan I think is one. Joss.
A
bunch.
Yeah.
I use From Japan, which is now called One Map.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Okay.
I can't, and I'm glad you bring this up because the question I would have, because so for anybody who's watching now or later who don't know, the way these services work, they're companies that are in Japan, I believe, for the most part, that they run these websites that basically, so Yahoo Auctions and other Japanese-based websites.
Mercari, yeah.
Yep, Mercari and all these different Rakuten, and they're just adding to them all the time. But basically, any Japanese language website, these services basically act as a go-between to where they translate everything for you into English. They allow you to bid on everything. You can link a PayPal or a credit card or whatever it is you want to it, that you then can bid on things or purchase things in Japan. And then what happens is the seller then sends it to that company's warehouse or location there in Japan. And then you ultimately can, over time, the one I use is the 45 days they'll hold it for. I don't know if that's universal or whatever, but you can send as many things as you want for whatever period of time they'll hold it for you. Then you can tell them, okay, I want now these things that I've purchased to be sent to me in America via FedEx or whatever shipping option that they have. So that's basically how it works, as I understand it for all of them. For the one that I use, what I like about it, and maybe this is the same or different from other ones, the fees obviously are what we care about, right? Like, what does this cost? If you're in America, obviously, Dan, you're in Korea, so I'm sure that there's a very different kind of dynamic there if you're purchasing. But the way it works with One Map or From Japan for me is that when I purchase something from online, I do all auctions. I don't buy anything. I've never bought anything just straight up buying it from anything other than Yahoo Auctions. But they allow me to connect to PayPal where I don't have to add money to an account that they pull from.
And a Kubo 10 requires money up front.
Do they? Okay, so that was the thing. I looked at a few. I was like, no, I don't want to put like $100 into an account that you're going to pull from.
And Joust
rates and all kinds
I
of
think
stuff.
Joust does that too. I think you have to put up money up front in Joust too.
Yeah, Joust you have to as well.
Okay.
So for this one, it's like I just said, as long as you have a connected, you can choose to, you can put in money if you want to, but it gives you the option. Like, no, just have, as long as you have a secured payment account, whatever, I use PayPal, connected to it. That's all they care about. So I can bid on anything I want for however much I want or whatever. If I win the bid, I pay whatever I bid for it. Then so
up front, just the cost of the item up front.
Yeah. So that's the thing I like about it. And again, this could be similar to other places, but what I like about it is the only thing I pay up front initially is what I bid on the item. Now that could include tax, I think, on a few things here or there. Every now and then there's like a random like, oh, I bid 1,000 yen, but it was 1,100 because of a tax or something like that. I don't know. But other than that, that's my only upfront cost that I have associated with that purchase of that auction item. Now, One Map / from Japan then says it gets shipped to their location. The cost of the seller sending it to them is the domestic shipping. That is something that obviously I will eventually pay, but I've not paid yet. They also have a flat rate of 300 yen per transaction. It doesn't matter what it is. If I spend 1 yen or 10,000 yen, they charge 300 yen per transaction. They used to have an additional $300 yen like transaction fee that they just like in the last few months got rid of. So they don't have that anymore. So the only actual cost I ever have that, as far as I know, that I pay them is 300 yen per any transaction whatsoever. So at this point, all I've paid is what was paid to the seller for the cost that I said I would buy that item for. They're holding the shipping cost for themselves and the 300 yen. Then when I choose within 45 days to have however much stuff I want shipped to me, I then choose the shipping cost that they then have on there. They use FedEx and some other local Japanese. I always go with the FedEx because it's the cheapest and most reliable, based on weight and dimensions, yada, yada. And then at that point, when I say, okay, ship me these items, whatever they are, they then come to me. I pay the shipping cost. I pay the international shipping cost. I pay the domestic shipping cost for every item that I ordered and the 300 yen per every single item. So there's a bigger chunk on the back end, obviously, with all those things together. But I don't spend a lot of money on all the different lots and all the different things anyways. But so it's like shockingly reasonable, in my opinion, to be doing that. And I don't do it like crazy, but so that's my experience. I'm very curious to hear if it's the same or completely different for everybody else.
Okay. I use Bai. Now Bai, up until the last couple months, they were charging, all right, so if I bought 2 items from, it could even be the same seller shipping from the same place 2 days apart. I think they might count that as 2 separate items, even though I don't know, to be honest, I never looked it up. I don't know if they charged me separately for each one, but if I have like two or more items, I used to charge 1,000 yen, $10 to combine them. They got rid of that fee, so that's not part of it anymore. They also got rid of I think Bai had like 2 fees per auction, every auction, but they got rid of one of those fees as well. So I believe, unless you want to like pay insurance, you're paying 300 yen on all your items, like you had mentioned. I think you said your place. I'm sorry, who was it again, Mike, that you said you used?
It's called One Map now, but from Japan is what.
One Map. You said it was 45 days in storage.
Yeah, the maximum for a single item is 45, and you have a running clock on it and everything.
All right, and Bai is 30 days, which I'm not a fan of. I'm hoping they can extend that. And if you want to hold on to it, I think it's a 100 yen, $1 each day afterwards if you didn't request your shipping yet. I don't know if they have that option. But
the only once you get to after 45 days, they say they destroy it. That's what they say. I'm sure they don't actually destroy it. I'm sure they take it and do whatever they want with it. But you've lost it.
Right, and I think in Bai's case, I think you have up to 1 month additional, which would be 3,000 yen, $30, like per day, $1 per day. After up to a month, you can hold it in there. Because sometimes when I'm at like 1 or 2 days left on like 2 or 3 items, that I can keep in storage. There's more items I want to buy still, so I end up having to pay storage for some of those because I don't want to ship them in the next month when I'm buying more stuff. So I do have to think about that. So they got rid of the 1,000 yen, $10 combined fee. They got rid of that, and they got rid of one of the other buyer fees or payment fees. So it's just the 300 yen on buy. I think
like
that's
that might be something that like industry wide over there has happened.
Yeah, I think it sounds like there's probably some pressure from other companies that are lower fees that Bai needed to adjust. I wasn't aware that they got rid of the 1,000 yen consolidation fee.
Well, Bai did anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, Bai did. Yeah.
But I don't know about you guys, but every time I go to that like request shipment fee or like combine, and then when I'm ready to ship, they say choose. I'm always worried about the shipping price, even though it might be around the same price all the time. I don't know about One Map or whatever Joss or whatever you guys use. I use Joss like once or twice, but even if I buy like single cards, they'll put them in a big green envelope and ship in a bigger box.
Yeah.
Even though it doesn't really require a bigger box, maybe the shipping price doesn't matter, but they usually ship it in a bigger box, even though they could ship it in a much smaller box.
Yep.
I'm guessing that's because the shipping price doesn't matter if it's a small size or a big size; it's still the same.
Yeah, that's how that must be their inventory system. They put everything, if they can, in those green envelopes, and then they just stack them up or however they inventory them at the warehouse.
I've always wondered about that, Ryan, because obviously I watch your videos. By the way, yeah. If anybody hasn't, please follow at Sumo Menko Man. It's got great content. But
I'll put everybody's information down below.
So I've always seen those green envelopes. It's like. But so from One Map, from Japan, the way that they do, so the way I typically buy, it's like I always have like a larger lot that I know obviously is going to be like a heavier weight and or dimension wise, and I try to see if I can find like individual single cards or like a couple like smaller lots that I assume that they can combine. Every single shipment, and I've probably gotten like 10 to 12 shipments from them over the last year plus or so. The way that they have done it is that they have it's dependent on what they get from the seller. So if I have a larger lot that's in a box, they don't like take it out and repack it or whatever. They'll like open it to make sure like, okay, this is what you ordered, I guess, and they reseal it. But generally the way they've done it is they have done a very good job. That's why I've been really, happy with their customer service and the way they've approached things. And this is my only experience, so I don't have anything to compare it to. But they put it in a box, and the way they do it is they seal that, whatever it is going into that box, they seal it in a plastic like covering that is like inserted, that they then take and insert into a different box, right? So they do whatever they're doing. They put everything in whatever smallest dimension they can. They cover it in plastic. It's all kind of shrink wrapped almost. And they take that and they put it in the smallest box possible, and they ship it through whatever you choose. And so it's been pretty. I've not had any experience. One, I've not ordered just 5 individual cards to be shipped to me. I've always kind of done it as a consolidated thing based on my needs, but. Like I said, I maybe it's a similar experience for you guys, but I've always been like very like, wow, they did everything they possibly. In fact, I even had one time where it was like 1,000 Menko cards of the thicker 70s styles that for whatever reason the seller shipped to them in like this plywood box, because I think that's what that's how they found it in whatever storage, whatever unit thing that they had, and they just shipped it along. And I messaged them, I was like, I do not want this plywood box. Can you please get rid of it? Because it's going to cost, 5 times as much to ship it to the U.S. And they said, no problem, blah, 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 boom. Nice. So anyway, I sound like a sales rep for One Minute. Right. I don't, I have no other experience, so I don't know, but I've had nothing but great experiences with them, customer service wise. I've had questions. They respond quickly.
Yeah. Mike, you use Zen Market?
Yeah, I use Zen Market. Last year in early December, I was ready to switch because I was getting very upset with their customer service.
Wow.
I'll be right back.
But overall, they're a 300 yen fee, a free consolidation. They have a section called Zen Plus where you can buy wholesale or from Zen Plus marked sellers, who I guess are premium sellers. So you get no fees on there. You can pay no shipping if the store offers free shipping. So like if you really want figures, Zen Plus sellers know they're selling to people overseas, so that you're going to be paying a bit more money, but you're also not getting any item fees, so you're kind of basically paying the same price, give or take.
Okay, so the Plus acts like a Yahoo Shopping.
They have Zen Plus, which is like their own Yahoo Shopping, basically.
Okay.
So, and then Mercari, they just got back from Baiyi. I think Baiyi had exclusive rights to Mercari for like a few years. I don't know if they're exclusive to Zen Market now, but they're back, and there was no fees on Mercari for like a month. Now the fees are back, so Mercari's not that useful on there anymore. But their best feature is that if you are a repeat customer, you actually get a line of credit with them. It's not like a credit card, but my account currently, is negative 8,000 yen because I just didn't bother putting any money in my account, so I can still bid without putting any money in. They don't bill like one map. They don't bill your PayPal. You have to add the money in, but you have 2 weeks to add the money in. You can just buy whatever you want for about 2 weeks, and then they'll come knocking saying, hey, your account's negative. But if you buy a lot like I do, you have a bit more pull, and they'll just kind of let you go into the negative for as much as you want without harassing you. So and then after the 45 days run out, because you have your free 45 days, they'll hold it pretty much indefinitely because they're charging you for each day after that. When I was having my issues with their customer service, I had it in my account for, I think, a total of 95 days. Because I was just refusing to ship it because they were pissing me off so bad. For background for that, I have my own store, and I was buying lots of anime stuff, and just like, $10, get 100 items. I bought a lot of anime towels. You buy 300 towels for $10 or whatever, sell them for $10 each in the States. It's a good racket. All of a sudden, they're saying I can't ship towels because it's a textile. They're like, oh, you need to fill out paperwork to ship a textile. All right, give me the paperwork. Oh, we don't have the paperwork. Then how do you know I need to fill it out? Oh, well, UPS is asking for the paperwork. Go ask UPS. I ask UPS. UPS has no idea what I'm talking about. So I'm like, all right, can you please send it UPS? I get the runaround for another week saying I need to fill out paperwork because I can't ship a textile. So I just let it sit there, and then finally I pay through DHL because DHL doesn't need customs paperwork apparently. I would think an international company like DHL would need customs paperwork. So I ended up paying through the nose for DHL because DHL is more money. But yeah, that was enough to make me look into Baiyi for a little bit.
I'm surprised they allow that credit type feature.
I think if you don't pay it back, they're just going to bill your account anyway and then a late fee. So they're getting their money no matter what off you. Unless you close your bank account, I guess.
Dispute that. I'm sure they would call their Visa or say I didn't purchase these, or they charged me something I didn't buy. Because in Korea, I don't think foreigners could have credit cards because in the past people would just spend everything and just leave the country
and then just leave. Yeah.
I equate that to that. But Mike, while you were gone, Mike said, what was the feature you just said?
Zen Market has a credit feature.
I mean, have you ever used Mike Rufe? Have you ever used I'm sorry, you said you used one map. Do they offer like a Yahoo shopping feature where you just put a bunch of things in your cart and you pay one fee? Do they offer that like Baiyi does?
That's a good question. I've never done anything but auctions because I'm always just looking for Menkos, and you don't find vintage Menkos just for sale on whatever. But so I don't know. Actually, good question. I'll look into that and I'll get back to you guys on that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Because if you use Baiyi, you can use Yahoo Auctions, which is just auctions. You can use Yahoo Shopping, which is buy it now, and you put it in your cart, and then you could put like 100 cards in your cart, and you're paying $3 fee.
Yeah,
Menkos aren't usually in Yahoo Shopping.
So I'll say so one map definitely has. So you can on one map you can shop on literally any Japanese Mercari, Rakuten, all those are available, and you just straight up buy. I don't know what their fees are because I don't use it. The other thing that they have now that they introduced within the last couple of months that I don't know if the other sites has is you can actually buy eBay from American eBay on their site.
I think eBay has it. I'm sorry. I think Baiyi has that, but I haven't used it because
I don't know. Part of me was like, why does this exist? But it's like, I don't know. Maybe for Japanese that want to go the other way, I don't know. I guess in theory, if you don't have the ability to buy from eBay in America for some reason, you could buy it through them. I don't know, but it's the same thing the other way. So like you buy something from one of us here, and then you get shipped to a warehouse wherever, and goes from there. So
cool. Back in the day, maybe last year. I don't know. Do you guys know Suruguya?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Mike, probably. I have bought figures on Suruguya before. Suruguya is like SURUGAYA or -YA.com. I didn't realize this till last week, but David, MPB Gar guy, told me that he bought directly from Suruguya. I'm like, wait, they ship internationally. I didn't know that. And he's like, yeah. So I created an account on Suruguya, who I was using through Buyee before as an add-on, one of their add-on, it's like a Chrome add-on feature almost. But I was using Suruguya to buy modern Isam Yup Korean player baseball cards, Japanese baseball cards. I would buy them on there or some other knickknacks, and they do sell figures on there as well. But when Dave told me that they actually ship internationally and I don't have to use Buyee, I created an account right away and threw stuff in a cart, which I haven't purchased yet. But Suruguya, it doesn't have any Menkos, so I don't know if you guys care about it then. But it's another Japanese website you can buy from directly.
Cool.
So I'll have to add. I'll add all this information down in the. I should have done so already, but once this is done, I'll make sure to add all the information on the bottom, underneath. Let's see here. All right. I know that only some of us. Ryan, is it? I don't know to the degree what you guys are collecting. I know Mike Gouffre, you collect baseball and a lot of non-sport. Ryan, I know you concentrate on sumo. Is some baseball?
Very little baseball. Yeah, okay. Very
non-sport.
More ton of non-sport. Well, I say it's
okay. Okay, so sumo and non-sport.
Yeah, right? Sumo and non-sport.
As far as Menko,
are you more you're non-sport focused in the 70s? Is that kind of where you're?
Correct. Yeah. So Sumo Menko and Cards from any year from late 1800s.
Right. Yeah.
And then, but in the 1970s and 80s, I collect any non-sport.
Okay. Mike, in regards, I know you collect a lot of anime stuff and anime figures, and you do a lot of selling as well. As far as Menkos go, is it I don't know the Japanese word. Kansatsu?
Tokusatsu?
Yeah.
The live action version, like if you even if you don't want to collect it, if you just want to get into and start to dive in and looking at like some cool like purely dated looking stuff, my God, it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing.
Mike Skelerads, as far as Menko goes, what do you mostly collect for Menkos?
Baseball is probably the main one, and then after that it goes Godzilla, Kaiju, Tokusatsu, and then anime that I like. For example, full retail box. This one has Dragon Ball Z in it, so even though I have them for sale, it's cool to have them, and I put a few for myself. So
nice.
I think there's a couple different. I think I posted some cards on the Discord. I think there's some sets where he's younger, and there's some sets like the one you have there where he's older.
Oh yeah, there's Dragon Ball Z.
There's Dragon Ball Z you have, right?
Yeah, this is a DBZ set right here.
Yeah. I have some Dragon Balls. Yeah. I think Mike made some separate ones for Ball and Ball Z. I'm not sure, but I know I have some Dragon Ball when he's younger, and then there's Dragon Ball Z, which is when he's older.
Is that from the late 70s, 80s? That Dragon Ball Z set.
Dragon Ball the manga was in the 70s to the early 80s. That's Dragon Ball. Yeah. Dragon Ball Z was mid-late 80s going to the 90s.
Okay.
And now Dragon Ball Super is ongoing.
Okay.
It's like I liken it to the it's the modern day Kamen Rider, although Kamen Rider is still going. My God. And Ultraman for that matter. Like it's amazing. That's what's so like complicated and difficult when you're first starting. I think when you start to look at these different non-sport kind of situations, it's like these different shows that have literally they got their foothold of popularity and have gone on and like forever. Like there's Kamen Rider 30 different versions, Ultraman 30 different versions, and trying to keep track of all of it's very difficult, but it's super cool.
Yeah.
Well, we're already at an hour 20. Let me propose this for you guys. Would you guys be interested in doing like a it doesn't have to be every month, maybe it could be every 2 months, depending on what we purchase and how often you purchase. I usually purchase maybe once a month, maybe once every 2 months, but because of the storage stuff. Would you guys be interested in maybe doing like a what we picked up every couple months video?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That'd be awesome. And
So I do have more questions here. I guess my question is, all right, you guys know I am more into having nicer condition cards. I do have some couple questions here we could finish off with. Oh, how do you buying prices could be touchy or iffy. I guess I don't want to cover that. We covered where you buy them. How do you store your Menkos? I guess I'll start. All right, because all right, yeah, let me grab my book here. All right, so this is my main Menko binder. All right, so I guess I'll start off here. So first off, I buy coin cards that are 2x2 to hold my JRMs. Okay.
Nice.
So this is my JRM page. I guess I'll stand up here. So these are all rounds, and I try to put them in order as far as like from beginning to end. So this is JRM 7. This is the first JRM set I have, and I try to keep them in order. JRM 21, and I will actually put the number or the player card I need in the missing spot. Just so you know.
These are numismatic coin sleeves. What you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. They do have those coins that are smaller that have a little flip on there, but these I think are bigger slots. Right. ComC does have this card I'm missing for like $6. $6 is a little more than I want to pay for JRM, but I might purchase it. JRM 22, 23, etc. And then after JRMs, I actually just bought some more, so I have a lot of pages here that are open. These are some of the. I use an actual 9-page to hold the bigger Menkos, round Menkos.
Yeah, they fit
well. These are the biggest size that'll fit in the 9-page.
Yeah.
And then
most are small, or that size are smaller. There's not too many that get bigger, but
yeah. And those are oh crap! I just dropped something. Okay. So then here's a Batman one. So then I come to my die cuts. Now these die cuts are used. These are Ultra Pro premium pages. These will fit JCMs and JDMs. Yeah. So I love the way they look, and obviously it's clear, so you can look at the front and the backs. I don't know that I have these all in order, and then I come to my JCMs, and these I love how beautiful they look. And then you got obviously the backs, and I've been trying to make some T-shirt designs, so maybe I'll make a T-shirt design.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about where you are with that.
But and then so JCMs are what I collect the most, and I think I have most of these in order. But some of these, like as some of you guys know, the Young Player is my favorite. I love the Young Player backs. So this is how I store my cards. The 1950s and 60s baseballs do not fit in these cards. They're too wide to fit in these tobacco pages. Yep. And all of those cards are in semi-rigids, card savers, which I have here. So these are various Menkos I have, various star Menkos. Nagashima has his own box, but the first one I pulled out here, I forgot. Can you guys tell me who that is? I forgot his name. I think his MM or his initials.
Oh man.
But this is how I store my 50s and 60s Menkos.
Those fit in 9 pocket sleeves pretty well, or.
I think Mike, you said you hold these in nine pages, right? Nine card sleeves.
I do. Yeah.
You do. I feel like they would move around too much. I don't know, but I would rather BCW or Ultra Pro make tobacco type pages, but a little wider just for these. But I'm not.
I think if you put them in a penny sleeves and then put them in a 9 sleeve, that they're better. Like moving because I completely understand what you're talking about. Like that they're not quite fitting there, so they're snug and they're going to move around. But I think if you put a penny sleeve and then put them in, that it can help with that friction a little bit. But
yeah, so I use card savers and different types of pages I just showed you. How about you guys?
Brian, I'll let you answer that because my storage system is ridiculously terrible.
No, I have everything bindered up through series. I mean, the same. And these float around, so not the best, but this is my 1970s. I do the same thing with the 9 pockets. Like here's Bruce Lee.
Nice.
These float around in the 9 pocket, so I'm not too impressed with my system, but again.
It's organized though. It works.
Guys, I do Ultra Pro. Some stuff is a pain in the ass.
I have that one, Dan.
Yeah.
It's cool, but it's
I don't have-
at the store.
I don't have a lot of these.
Yeah.
This must be later. This is Mazinger.
Yeah, it's Mausinger. Yeah.
What's funny? Do you guys know
Is this the
Taikon
same
V?
picture? It's not the same
No,
picture.
different. No, it's different. Yeah.
Taikon V, which Taekwondo Taekwondo V is a superhero. I don't know. I think they copied off of Mazinger. He looks exactly the same.
Oh, there's all that. Honestly, there's the hardest part for me early. That's Mausinger Z. There. No, that's.
I think that's a Metal Heroes.
Hold on. That's
might be wrong.
It's not Ultraman, right?
No, I don't think so.
Say Baka? What? I can't. That's it.
After Ultraman came out, it was
I
a
have two of
free-for-all.
these.
and-
that's Beijing Zabinger.
Man, you're on top of that.
Zabinger. I'm having to literally look at my floor. Oh, that guy is. Oh, damn.
I think, is that Ideon?
That's the great.
No, I have
No,
that
that's
one
not
too.
Ideon.
I have two of these as well. If anybody wants one.
So we'll talk about storage system real quick. I sent out a photo on this not too long ago on Twitter. Oh, that's the Stars of Giant. Yeah. So this is my storage right now.
Oh, that's awesome.
That is literally like my floor.
Oh, you
with
guys have
Post-it
these?
notes.
The coasters?
And that's probably like half.
Is that a cut-up round?
I don't know. I mean, actually,
That got cut up.
yeah, I think it
Yeah,
is.
I think that's a cut round.
But I think it is a round. It's not. It doesn't look perfect.
Yeah, that's a round that got cut down. I've seen a few of those over the my shipments. I gotta if we're doing show and tell, I gotta ask.
Well, I'm wondering if
I got a few that I would show and tell, but I have a very curious group of things I want to show at some point. But
Sure. What do you got? All right, what do you got? We're an hour and a half in. Do you guys want to save it for another time, or?
I'd sit here for the next 10 hours and talk about this, quite frankly. But I mean, I know that's not what this is intended for.
Do you want to do some show and tell?
Yes.
Sure.
All right, so let me show you a couple of things that so he said, like, hey, what are some of our favorite Menkos? And
Sure, yeah,
like,
I did ask.
it's like picking your favorite children, yada yada.
Right.
Like,
Well, I think both mics apparently have some stuff that they can show. So go ahead.
I got time. All right, so a couple here. So this is one that I just got in a recent shipment that I think is pretty, I don't know, just pretty unique and whatever. So what I love about this one.
All right, let me put you full screen. All right.
Oh, sure. So this is, I assume, a tiger mask Menko, but just to see, so that solid red background with the artwork of this in profile, just really, really, really awesome and cool looking. The back on this too, that I thought was really interesting. So the back, the Japanese in the bottom reads, Shukan Weekly Bokura Magazine, which was a sort of regularly published weekly manga magazine, released November 1st. And you can't really see it here, but on the front here, around the edges, there's like some very dotted lines. So this clearly to me was something that was in a magazine that was cut out, not distributed in some other ways. But so just something like that artwork to me is just pretty amazing. This one I'll show just because I think it is absolutely, I have no idea what this is. If anybody does in the world, by God, tell me. This is so just weird.
I think that's
So Mike, if anybody knows, so on the bottom here looks like there is Dracula, whatever this is, eating a hood of some kind. I don't know.
What's from? Is that a gold border?
No, it's a green border, which is the weird thing. I've never seen a green border, and I have two of these.
Huh. Yeah.
And it's from a very common issue set, but
That
so
looks
there's
like
that.
from the late 50s.
This to me seems more like the that seems like more the 60s. But all right, so these from the 50s that I think are definitely my favorites. So this is one here. The artwork on that, like the skeleton with flames on the bottom and a scythe and its head back. I mean, it's just absolutely gorgeous. A skeleton on the back there on the top.
That reminds me of one of the JCM baseball sets with the back.
Yeah, I completely agree. It absolutely does. Same or a different set, but a similar look. That I'm still trying to figure out what exactly this Shiranubi is, other than it looks like death to me. But again, the artwork on this is just absolutely gorgeous to me.
I love how it has a matching back. Yeah.
Same set. There's this Kaijin X, which I still cannot find. Like if I search for that in Japanese and English, can't, other than like there's a comic from that era from the 50s, like Two Gun Kid or something like that it might be more in that lines. But
Are those the same set? Those two?
Yeah, they're the same.
X?
Same look.
Yeah, it looked like.
So I assume they're different colors, same set. And the last that I'll show before I go and grab these other ones that I wanted to show you guys is this. I tend to like see in American whatever. This is Cyclops Mickey serving meatloaf or something. I don't know, but it's a different set for Mikey.
Right.
But I just love those things. But real quick, I'll grab these other things and I'll show you this, and I'll be done.
Okay.
Yeah, cool experience though. The Menko with the English writing on it, or in the late 40s, early 50s.
Yeah, that's kind of the era that I assume that they are, based on everything else I've seen and what I've looked for. But those and those are just a couple examples from that set. There's some other ones that are like a ninjutsu one. There's an Invisible Man one that are just I just don't know what I cannot find any references to them on the internet. What was I going to show? There's something here. Okay. So in my most recent lot purchase I got from, again, it had to have been just some kids, collection that got wherever. It had these much larger cards.
I've never seen those.
I'd never seen these before. Now, this is Ultraman, and they're it's just a pretty. I've seen similar images
Upside down.
in a lot of different ways, and of course, as we talked about, the kids writing on the back. Like I don't know what he was keeping score there, but there's that, and here's his whatever. But so there's Ultraman, there's Ambassador Magma, there's Godzilla, which I thought was like, Mike, you might really appreciate these. And every single one of them are blank backed. They're not. So I'm like, are these prizes? Are they? I don't know. There's Mothra and Godzilla. Just whatever. And there's all these different.
I've seen the
Kamen
Godzilla
Rider.
ones before.
You have?
They came in a little. It was kind of like a Calbee pack. It was a big Calbee pack. I don't know if there are Calbees, but I've seen them before.
Okay, so would you consider those like Calbee?
If they're not Calbee, then they're at least like a knockoff of Calbee. That's the same back on Calbee.
I think so. These are the only two. These are Kamen Rider. These are the only two that were in the whole set that had anything on the back. And I thought the same. I was like, okay, those look a lot like Calbees. And you can see the numbers that the young guy wrote on there. But they're the only two that have anything on the back. Everything else is blank backed. I'm like, I don't know what they are. Like if they were prizes or just something you could buy some other ways. But there's like
those are bromides. So when I was mentioned before, there's Menko bromides and mini
that
cards.
size.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, bromides are big.
Like, I mean, that's Menko versus bromide. Different eras, obviously. But so anyway, yeah, it makes sense that they'd be colored bromides. That totally makes sense.
Yeah, like I have. You've got. I don't know if you can put me up there, Dan.
Yeah,
one
so
second,
you can
please,
switch
sorry.
me out now. I'm done.
But so
taken
this is a 1980, 79 or 80, can't remember, but Sumo Tava pack. So these are bromides. You can see they came in these.
Okay.
Yeah, I have seen something like that before.
So you can see the size of them.
Versus a Menko, yeah. No, that totally. So you think these might have been like they would have come in a larger sort of pack of some kind? They would take them out maybe or whatever.
Yeah. So bromides came typically in two ways in the 70s. They came in these Taba packs. They would hang them from the ceiling of the store, and then you would pay whatever. In this case, 20 yen at the time, and you would pull one of these sleeves out of the pack for the card, really the picture. They also they distributed them in boxes similar to the Menko box that Mike had showed for Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah.
But the boxes were a little bit larger, and they would have these in there in the paper packs as well.
I wonder if you're able to take it down and look through them, or you couldn't. You just whatever you pick is what you pick.
Whatever. So interesting. The mini cards of the 70s came in unopened boxes. Came in boxes. I've got one here. And they would. You can see here's Kings of the Square Ring. This is a mini card box. But when you open it up, the store owner knew what the prize cards were because the factory put the prize cards in bags. My guess is so that the prizes could be slow rolled throughout the product or removed altogether to, I don't know, convince the kids to buy more.
Cheat them out of their hard-earned.
Cheat them out of their, yeah. You know, when a yen is to be made, I'm sure there's all sorts of scrupulous activity that could happen with them. But yeah, that's how you knew these are all prize cards from this set, and you would win when you pulled the prize card. You would win like one of these free albums here.
Nice. Yeah, I've seen those albums before. The smaller mini card albums. I've seen those.
Yeah, absolutely. So those are used as prizes. But so those bromides that you got, Mike, sometimes they would have winter stamps on the back of them. I assume because there were nothing on the back of any of them other than kids' drawings that they didn't have stamps, and so therefore, I mean, maybe none of them were winners, but all of them definitely have on the front some kind of reference writing. There's some sort of copyright / reference to what they are. They're not some bootleg or whatever. There's a huge chunk of like Tiger Mask and a couple of here or there, some or other random things. But yeah, it was definitely, I got the feeling it was more like 60s versus 70s, but maybe I'm off on that. Those would have all been 70s. Those are the ones, yeah.
I know the Tiger Mask are because you'll like this one. Who's that there with Tiger Mask, Brian?
That's either Giant Baba or Inoki.
It's definitely Giant Baba.
Yeah.
It's gotta be. It's gotta be Giant Baba. Yeah. I was like, holy crap, it's actually a real life guy in it. So yeah.
Yeah, very cool.
All right, Mike, did you have stuff to pull aside? Do you want to show?
Yeah, so I don't know if this counts as Menko, but I like it. It's a record that's actually
Well, the Nagashima.
looks like a
it's Nagashima record?
Nagashima record. Yeah, I have the O one coming from Japan next month.
Oh, okay. I heard the O
market
one. I
account.
know Nagashima had one too.
Yeah, I actually got this from Heimei. He gave me a good deal on it. He was in like a sales thread, and I just got it off him.
Nice.
What's the back look like?
Looks kind of like a Cali back.
Okay.
So there's a record inside of it?
Yeah, you can I've not played it. I don't really want to risk that, but
yeah.
So you can feel a little record on the inside.
That's super awesome. Is it like I think I asked him before is it like we assume like a interview with him? Is that the idea?
I think it's just him talking about his life.
Yeah.
Like just like a brief rundown of who he is.
Huh.
I know Topps or some baseball company put like an American set out like around the same time where they gave you tips.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yes, my uncle showed me that.
Nice.
Cool.
I showed this one earlier, but there's another story behind it. I was set up at the Philadelphia Non-Sports Collector Show, and they have the sales reps that are there, they're sponsors, and they give away free stuff. One of the sales reps for Sidekick Labs actually bought a sheet off me.
Oh, yeah, I remember you telling me this.
Because people have apparently been asking him to do Menko cards, and they didn't know like how to do it because they thought Menko cards were all thick. So when he was at my booth, I was the only one with Japanese anything there. They didn't know that they could be thin.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, "Yo, can I buy this?" And I was like, "Yeah." So I had it for $50, I think. And he's like, "Well, would you do 35? You know, we want to like research it, see if we can put out like a American-made Menko." So yeah, I gave him a deal on it. I don't know if they used it at all or if, how the research is going on that, but eventually, if there's an American-made Menko set, I'm responsible for it.
What are the backs like? Sorry, I'm a.
These are military backs. I have like 18 sheets and they're all the same.
Oh, cool.
You got I believe this would be an 80s JSDF based on the helmet.
Yeah.
80s tank, submarine.
Is there like a circle with kanji on all of them?
No, just like a rock paper scissors.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's kanji at the bottom, but I translated it before. It's just like submarine, tank, soldier, etc.
Yeah.
Sweet.
So this is from 82, I think, because the Gundam on here is actually promoting the movie, not the original series, which I think is 70s.
Right.
I almost bought a figure of that guy with the helmet.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Char.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I almost bought it. I think you bought it. I was going to buy it. Yeah, that guy. Yeah, there was a figure.
Yeah.
He only had like two. You can only like move his arms or something. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, that's like this original early 70s Ultraman. All he can do is just move his arms.
Oh, so he just needs to stand there and look awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty much.
That's badass.
I got this in a lot that I was buying to resell, and this was in there, and apparently it's a $200 Ultraman. So
Nice.
that one stays there. This will tie into how I store my cards because I can't screw these up any more than they're already messed up.
Yep.
So these ones just go in a box because they're already jacked up.
Those are
So much of Menko.
There's not much I can do here that'll make it. That's any like. I think there's a swastika on the back or something there.
That's so cool.
There's a lot of swastikas in Menko.
Yeah, the manjis. This one's like literally like. So this is probably better treated than how they were.
Can you show me that one again, please? Hold on. Wait. I don't know if it's the same one, but I have this. Well, sorry. Once, let me. Can you see this? And let me.
I can't see it.
1 second. All right, I'm going to take you off screen. Well, not off screen, but I want to show you this real quick. I don't remember.
I think it's like Galaxy 99 or something.
Galaxy
999.
I have, or it was like a start. I forgot the name of it. I think I had Mike make a category for it, but I could be wrong. But I thought because there are some that look similar. All right, I'm not sure, but that's what I wanted to show you because every time I see those Menkos, I think of it.
That's so cool.
Mm-hmm. This one's just cool if you're like just an Ultraman fan because I mean it's at that point in time it's every single Ultraman together.
Yeah, there's like 6 of them. Yeah.
I think this was. I guess I don't know what the playing card up there is. I mean, it's an ace, so I think it might be a prize because ace, whatever.
Yeah.
I have another box behind me. It's a 5,000 count box where I just call it the good box, and that's got all my Philly stuff in there, and then like Menko I haven't sorted. And then here's the better box. It's just an Ultra Pro container.
Actually, I still use some of my own Ultra Pro ones.
I mean, if we
Are you around Philly? Is that where you're from, Mike?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to Japan literally in like a week and a half, so hopefully I bring back
There you are.
way
Nice.
more of this stuff.
Well, in about a month, you're going to show us what you got.
right.
Oh, hell yeah. Now I'm hoping to. I think I have a contact meetup with for my store where they're going to supply me with whatever they get in their store. So I'll get like first
Can I
dibs.
ask where you're planning to go?
I'm going to fly into Haneda. I wanted to fly into Narita, but I'm going to stay around Chiba Prefecture because that's where all my friends live.
Okay, nice.
And in Chuo Ward, I'm renting an apartment there for 2 weeks. It's like
Oh wow.
$500, which is like 2 days at any real like place to stay in America. So
Go. That's
So
cool.
you're gonna be there a while, huh? Nice.
yeah, last time I went was 2019, and then the world ended the following year.
Yep.
So my trip's been 4 years in the making, basically.
Wow. I'm excited for you. I hope you have a great time.
Out of this whole group, I'm the only one who's not been to Japan. It's just,
Oh, you should go. Just go.
I've
Don't
wanted to
plan
go my whole
anything, just
life. I just
Just go tomorrow.
My
Who
wife and
cares?
daughter might say something about
I'll
that.
give him a ticket too. It's fine. Here's a Nagashima rookie I got at the National from
Nice.
Prestige. What's his name? Robert. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, nice.
I mean, it's creased, but I mean, a Nagashima rookie for $8. Are you really gonna cry?
No, that's
$8.
the beauty of them.
Right.
Kawakami. It says 25 on there. He didn't charge me 25. I got this one from Heimei. According to the price guide, which I don't have because it's kind of hard for me to pay $30 for a PDF, even though it's useful.
Yeah.
Apparently, there's only like 10 copies in the world of this one, or less. It's got like glitter on there. It's
That might be the
Michio
one that they
Nishi,
use for the example too.
Michio Nishizawa, I believe.
glitter, like gold glitter. For the
Yeah, it's kind of like some. You can't really see it on. If in the light, you can kind of see there's a gold glitter on it.
Was
Yeah,
it JCM what?
those are prize cards.
JCM 152, 1949 red border. I was going to send that into a grading company just because I mean only 10 examples. I kind of want it to be in a slab, and then I found out PSA was dinging Menko for being miscut when
Yeah,
I don't know
hand-cut
how you
is
can. I don't know how you can miscut it. It's hand cut.
Exactly.
Doesn't make much sense to me.
Yeah, that's the one. That's Michio Nishizawa. That's the one that's on the actual. They use it as an example in the guide.
Oh, like that actual card?
Yep.
Or at least one of them? Oh, cool.
Yeah, is that the 289 times 15 on the back?
There's a little piece of paper on the sleeve. I'd have to take it out. I'll have to look at that later.
It's on the bottom of the back. Should
Yeah, you got like a little like thing.
Oh,
there just to keep
okay. I
it
see
from
what you're
moving.
saying. Yeah. No, but that's the guy. Yep. Cool.
I got the. This is probably my favorite like vintage player. Would probably be Sachiko Kinugasa.
Nice.
You know, Tetsujin, the Iron Man.
Yep.
Broke the Lou Gehrig record for Cal Ripken, and I will never not waste a moment. It's refuse an opportunity to say that to people.
Yep. Same thing with O.
As a Phillies fan, I will never give any gratitude or credit to any other player on any other American team. I'm just saying.
Well,
Let alone a Braves player. I ain't freaking giving anything to Hank Aaron. Die before you see me doing that. One of my only Menko, which I think is like a common Menko. I've seen this so many times.
yeah, the one on the
Yeah.
right there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's got like that bad double image of him, triple even exposure.
I got two of those right here.
Yeah, it's like the only other than the Meiji Milk playing cards. Have you ever seen those?
Yeah.
Yeah, like that's the only other I can get that's like not stupidly expensive. This is to my knowledge a 1936. I want to say it's a bromide, but
Is it a blank back?
it's got Seifu written on the back, so it's not blank. No, it's not bromide then. That glares fucking. That glares terrible.
It looks like a bromide.
Yeah, but 1936 Stars later become the SoftBank Hawks.
Nice.
And then I guess I should go get it, but I'll do it. It counts as a Menko in my opinion. It'll be the last thing, and then
I found my Kachaman, so I'll show them after Mike's finished.
complete Yamakatsu DX retail box.
Nice.
It came with 30 packs, which are on a shelf behind me. I don't really
Oh
get
man,
them,
that's
but
awesome.
all the packs are sealed. And the best part is, I'm too lazy, but you can actually see through the packs and see who's in there.
Right. Yeah. Typical
I'm just
for you.
way too lazy because I'm not selling them, so it doesn't matter if I was in there or not.
Yeah.
What year is that?
78 or 79, I think.
Okay.
Maybe 81. Doesn't say, but then usually you don't get the prize card still in there.
Oh man.
That's awesome.
I got this on eBay from some. It wasn't any of the usual suspects on eBay either. Like, you know, you got Prestige, you got just Japanese baseball cards. There's a couple that you always go to.
That's
Some
awesome.
random guy just had this just sitting around, and these are all super high gloss. I don't know if that
Oh
comes
my
across
God.
well, but like
Oh yeah, it totally does.
amazing pictures.
God.
Obviously,
Those
the
are-
best one you want to get in this set out of the prize cards is the Sadahara O one, but I mean, I'm not going to
Sure,
complain
but-
about, a great Taiyo Whales.
That's amazing, man.
So I have that box on display of the packs, hidden away. With the packs, hidden away.
So I keep it all together. I wouldn't open the packs. I keep it all together.
Oh, I'm not going to.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, I think I paid like $80 on an auction no one was bidding on. So I'm really stingy and I don't like paying that much. But when you get all the packs and everything, you can't really complain.
Yeah, that's awesome. From that side, hard to find in that condition.
Other than that, I usually now I don't buy lots for myself. I buy lots to resell, and then I pick out what I want. I've actually been getting more desirable cards out of that, like doing it that way.
Yeah. I do that.
Because now I run my own store, so that's.
What's your store name?
Chiva's Collectibles.
It's on eBay.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I'm starting to do more flea markets now. It's gonna be flea market season, and then the Philly non-sports show will be there. Chiba, based on the prefecture in Japan, where that's pretty much my favorite part of the country. So,
Do you know Steve, Mike, on Twitter?
Go
Marines.
Yeah, I do the. It's volunteer. I don't work for him. I have to legally say that, or they'll yell at me. I do the color commentary for the Pacific League baseball broadcasts on YouTube. And we had to put together. I had to do the editing. We actually interviewed him for the NPB Pacific League channel.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I actually met maybe you guys know this already. When I met Dave in 2019, he got tickets through Steve to go to a Chiba Lotte Marines versus Hanshin Tigers game, and so we met Steve, and he showed us around the stadium, and we sat with him and get some beers from the Bear Girls, and it was a great experience.
Stadium.
Right home.
What time of the year did you go?
I had to it was summer, so I had to go in late July.
They're playing the Tigers. That's like June or July.
Yeah, it was late July, I believe.
Yeah, I went in April when I attended a Marines game, and nobody told me that the temperature drops below like 20 at night because you're so close to the ocean. And my friends are like, "Oh yeah, you got to bring a jacket." And I'm like, "It's freaking April. What do you mean I got to bring like 3 jackets?" 20 minutes into like first pitch, I'm like, "Oh wow, I'm dying."
Yeah.
That's baseball in Colorado, actually.
Yeah. I guess mostly anywhere in the U.S. What I wanted to show you guys, let me find it real quick. I told you guys about the gotcha figure. So I don't know what years these came out, but the gotcha, I think I might have threw them out stupidly, but when you buy a gotcha man, it has those. It comes in the balls that in the gumball machine type thing, right?
Yep.
So there was one figure, and each figure, depending on what wave it came out of, it came with one of these little things inside each one. And I'm sure you guys know what these are, but just to show you a different one, each wave had an X amount of figures. This one happens to have a lot, so this is what it came with. So this one had like 10.
Wow!
Oh, every Ultraman.
That's literally all of them. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is what it came with. This is a wave. This might have been like wave like number 30 or something, but this one has all of them. I'm trying to find it. So these are all of the. I have extras. So I have each wave had its own little thing. So most of the waves had maybe 4 or 5 figures, and anyhow, I separated these by waves. So all of these Gotcha Man figures are in there, and they come apart. And this is what Ryan helped me buy in Japan. So basically, this is one of the bad guys in Ultraman, and they come apart. They come apart like this, and that's how it fit inside the Gotcha Man cube, or the circle. So I have a crap ton of these. I have a whole box of them, and I think I have almost every single 35 waves, but I haven't displayed them yet, which is what I want to do because I spent all the money on them and like them, so might as well try and display them somehow. But I don't know how I'll do that. I wanted to get one of those clear shelves and just long and not too tall, so I can display a lot of them. But I don't know if that's ever going to happen. But I did collect these maybe 3 or 4 years ago.
Nice.
Excellent.
Yeah, if you've ever been to those capsule vending machine palaces in Japan,
so many everywhere.
Those are so much
every 5 feet.
Capsule machine palaces.
Yeah, you go into some of these, and there's just hundreds and hundreds of different capsule machines, from little toys to figurines to you name it, they're selling it. These little
I went into a shopping mall in Chiba City where instead of going outwards like an American shopping mall, it goes up. And one floor was just like 1,000 gacha machines.
Yeah, it's so much fun.
Are they claw machines or just no?
No, they're like gumball machines, like egg capsule machines.
Oh, so it's just you just buy what and it just comes out. So you always get whatever you pick.
You pop it open, and then you get, and each one's themed.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
there you go.
All
Each one's themed, and they're like beer, like little miniature.
This one allegedly had fruit in it at some point,
Yeah,
but
there you go.
you get your little thing and little fruits in
They
there.
have everything you can think of. It could be like an egg or like an omelet, and then like they'll have animated characters and stuff.
I bought one that was all little, like, you know those cars you pull them back and they go? It was all World War II German tanks, including really obscure ones that I know no one's ever made a model kit of. And I was like getting them all.
Of course it was.
They're so much fun.
They're like 200 yen to 400 yen.
And then you can go into like a used game store and they'll put used games inside of these. Like I saw one where it was all PSP games. Like, if you ever seen the little PSP discs, it was like big machine this big, and every little egg capsule had a PSP game in there. And it was like $1.
Love it.
Yeah.
Must have been older stuff.
Man, I need to go.
Alrighty, guys. I had a great time. We're already at 2 hours. I don't pay for StreamYard. I don't know. I think for being free, I think you could have up to 10 people, but I don't know what the how we're just past 2 hours, and I don't know that we're gonna go 2 hours again. But I'll end it here, and the next time we come on, maybe we could cover whatever we didn't talk about, but also show what our most recent pickups are. And they may not be Menkos; it could be other Japanese stuff. But we all down for that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'd
Right.
love to
Well,
make this
I'm glad-
regular.
Yeah, I'm good. Again, I'm glad I could bring all of us together and finally meet up, and now we can put faces with names and get back to our Discord and start doing more of that. I did order. I think I told you this, guys. I did buy a non-sports auction along with some other stuff, and I didn't request shipping yet. So once I get that, I'll be happy to try and help grow the checklists with that.
Sounds good. I hope it wasn't the one that I was bidding on that I got beat out on the other day, because I was very mad about that one.
Speaking of that, I think it was Ryan that outbid me on like 3 different Brandon Laird cards
Oh, did
out
I?
of 5s. I saw your blog post and you're like, I'm trying to get all the out of 5s, and I'm like, I'm trying to get all the 5 out of 5s. He's got 3 of them, and I'm like, oh well, there goes my dream.
This is such a small world. I assume we're all outbidding each other.
Probably.
Yeah, I got
I got outbid by Rob a couple times.
All right. Yeah. You try and get anything high end, it's always going to be Rob. It's like if it's
As soon
happening.
as I lost it, I was just like, it went from like $30 where I was at to like a giant few $100. I was like, yeah, it's Rob.
Yep, that's Rob. Yep, Rob and somebody else apparently. Yeah, no, that's his thing. So makes sense.
All right, you guys. Let's plan for something maybe in late March.
Sounds good.
Sound good?
Awesome.
Yeah, I come back from Japan in late March, so
I'm sorry. When you come
That'd
back?
be even better.
I come back on the 22nd. So
But yeah,
Okay,
so like
well-
a week
well-
after that, give him time to decompress and then show
time
us-
zones are weird, but you know,
I wanted to say, okay, so March, maybe, all right, you said 22nd, you come back?
yeah, leave on the 23rd and come back on the 22nd.
All right.
Time zones are fun.
Okay. March 25th is a Saturday. April 1st is a Saturday. Well, we'll actually, I might have a softball tournament on April 1st, but we'll plan in Discord.
That was
All
good.
right, guys. All right, it was a pleasure meeting you all. I had a great time, and I'm going to end the broadcast, and hopefully we'll meet up next month.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
I'm going.